it a contracted thing, and we're going to move forward with that plan in the coming budget. The contract would have been in the neighborhood of $30,000, and we're able to cover that with our own employees this year, although we'll have to buy some additional equipment. We also talked about the recreation program and the humane collaboration on that, and had representatives from the humane as well as our recreation director there to discuss that and how that's going, and it's going quite well. And that's what we did at that meeting. I also attended a legislative policy committee meeting as part of Maine Municipal Association, which we're a member of. And during that meeting, the group took positions on a number of pieces of legislation that affect municipalities. We only deal with legislation that directly affects municipalities, but there's a lot of them. But the key items continue to be that our association is lobbying for is restoration of revenue sharing, having the state meet its 55% requirement in school funding, and increasing the homestead exemption reimbursement. So those are the major items that our association is lobbying for in the legislature. And as you probably have noticed in our governor's budget proposal, she does address all of those, perhaps not as fully as we'd have liked to seen in the first year, but at least we're moving in the right direction with this budget proposal. But now it has to go through the legislative process, so we'll have to be watching that and influencing our legislators.
Thank you. And I just would like to add the landfill permit process. We were trying to make that more equitable.
Yep, and user-friendly.
And user-friendly, so that
Yep.
watch for new developments on that one. Lori, Sam?
Yes, on January 24th, the Council Community Development Committee meeting was held. We had a pretty full docket. The first item was is the property line of properties adjacent to the alley downtown have been identified as what belongs to the building and that sort of thing. And so there's a bit of a reassessment at this point where possibly we may be looking at building, not we, but shall we share our microphone, Sophie?
Always, yes.
Okay, so we can share it like this.
So the boundary survey created a discrepancy between what the town has maintained and improved for the last 40 years and likely has a prescriptive right to continue to use for public use in the same use. And we have a business owner, a property owner, who is really looking to expand. And so the committee sent me back to see about negotiating with the property owner, and hopefully by next month I'll have an update for you. We've met twice and we will continue to meet.
Following that, we had a discussion about contract zone, possible change on College Avenue adjacent to the University Zone. That's with College Avenue Dental Association, possibly putting a new facility in there, depending on the contract zone. So we're examining that. Where's that? That was the final thing. Back to Sophie.
So any contract zone, when a request comes in, we do a brief check-in with the council, simply because to put a full-blown proposal together costs the landowner a considerable amount of money. What we heard from council was support for the concept and willingness to consider the details. And so that has gone back. Kyle is currently working with the landowner, expressing the concerns that council had brought up. We would expect that.
Real quick, we met with the property owner, so he's kind of taking the next step to reach out to the neighboring properties and get feedback. So
Yes, we expressed council's concern and thought that the highest priority needed to be to check in with the neighborhood to make sure that the neighborhood would be welcoming. So you should see that back when we have an application.
last two items, we spent a good deal of time talking about the Omnibus TIF district that was mentioned and discussed thoroughly earlier today. And also we talked about the potential installation of a dirt pump track for bicycles in our land up next to the hockey rink, the ice rink. Yes, the ice rink. Also expressing concern that if future development of the school system, as that whole issue is up for debate right now, and the possibility of construction and improvements for the school, if that were an issue at all, this is a pump track that would easily be moved out of the way and wouldn't cause any due hindrance to that. That's basically it.
I would just say probably not moved. That gives the idea that it would be like picked up and it's just a pile of dirt. So it would probably
It would
be,
be flattened and removed.
yeah.
Okay, thank you for those very complete reports. Moving on to future agenda items and items of concern. I'll start with Cheryl.
Once again, Kids Night at Council. March 11th now. I'm hoping that this is the last date. So we're setting it for March 11th at 5:30, and we will have a full council meeting and the kids.
Nice.
That's all.
So that is right before your regular council meeting.
Okay. Megan?
I have none.
Tom?
I'm good.
Tom? Lori?
None.
Sam?
Just to repeat, we're voting March 12th. Absentee ballots are available downstairs now, and Meet the Candidates Night is on YouTube. Check it out if you're
And
interested.
on our website.
On our website.
Moving on to public petitions. We don't have any public comments.
Susan Whitmore. I've got a couple of comments. The first one is I recently read a report in the Bangor Daily News that there's a meeting I wasn't aware of pertaining to the Kelly Road Bridge. And there was an inquiry to the public in terms of would the people of the town want a long-term or short-term bridge project? And I myself wanted, since I wasn't in attendance at the meeting, I would simply like to voice, I myself would like a bridge that's enduring and built well. And if that means it's a long-term project, so be it. I think in the long run, that's the most economical, and not only economical, but also safest. My other concern is pertains to a recent incident when I was shopping. I was at a grocery store, not in Orono, but in close proximity to Orono. And as I was leaving, the cashier was inclined to say to me, quote, "I smoke crack," end quote. And simply want to announce the person's knocking at the wrong door. I don't condone such intoxications, and I've terminated numerous relationships due to people's involvement in such. My other concern for the person, perhaps the person's reaching out to a person and needs assistance with their substance abuse. And in that, I'll simply announce such a person should visit a medical professional for such. I myself am not a medical professional for such, and my patience and tolerance is very slim to none. And I bring this to council. Also, of the concern when I view the Orono website, right on the front page, there's the announcement of marijuana activity, the marijuana industry. And I'm hoping that front page space isn't inviting substance abuse to town, which has already been a problem considering the campus has lost student lives to overdose. And 2 deaths in one weekend. that, so, and also happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Susan.
Susan, if it makes you feel any better, I know what you're speaking of, that on the bottom of the front page of the website, right in the center, there is a marijuana leaf and it says marijuana latest information.
Correct.
That link is to a comprehensive sort of encapsulation of what's going on in the legislature, the council's discussions about zoning and ordinances and every possible thing that we've been working through. And it's really well laid out. It talks about the difference between adult personal use and retail and dispensaries. It basically is a resource for the community to know exactly what's what so that they can come, kind of informed and aware if they choose to come to council and voice their opinions in what council might do in the future.
I simply hope the authors are gathering data from out-of-state locations as well, such as Colorado. Colorado's had some serious problems from the development of the industry. And Massachusetts, Acton, they had a facility that was not of standard.
Oh, yes.
So
We're looking at everything. And again, it's a great resource. And I'm just going to plug the website again, orono.org. And it's really worth checking out if you have any kind of confusions or concerns about what is going on with this whole marijuana issue in the state and in the town.
well, not on my property.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Susan brought up the question of the Kelly Road Bridge, and I think it would be a good use of a couple minutes to have Rob brief you on what's going on with that. It's a DOT project, but
Seeing as you're here, Rob.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I forget the date. Recently, the DOT held a public hearing to discuss a project they're developing for the Kelly Road overpass. The bridge has the deck is becoming deficient. It's still safe, but they're beginning to develop a project that would replace the deck of the bridge only. It's a very specific scope, so they would remove the existing deck, put a new one on. It's still in the preliminary stages, so they haven't decided what type of engineered solution it will be, but they wanted to get some input from people here in the town as well as town staff on some of the logistics of the project. And so I think when you heard long-term or short-term, I think one of the things that they need to decide is whether they do half the bridge at a time and not have to have a detour, or completely remove the entire deck and create some kind of a detour around Kelly Road. The impact of that is doing it half at a time leads to about an 8 or 8.5 month project from start to finish. Creating the detour, which would be the short-term solution, they can get in there and fix everything all at once, would be about a 3 or 3.5 month project. And so they're working their way through that. In my opinion, having the bridge closed for 3 months, have it done from June to August would probably be less impactful than having a project drag on all spring, summer, and fall, and still create traffic delays and things like that. So that's kind of what my 2 cents were at the meeting. But as I said, the DOT is developing it. It's scheduled for construction in 2020. So we'll have another opportunity to have some input on that project as we get more details associated with it.
I just want to make it clear, it's a DOT project with no town match, so you won't see this on the capital plan.
I just want to say that I attended the meeting and it's very preliminary, and they came as a courtesy to talk with us about what we were interested in. It wasn't not announced as well as our town meetings are, because it wasn't done by our town, although it was physically here. And there was a discussion about what the detours would be, and people mentioned that there's ways, if you drove to Kelly Road and you could not get across it, you you plan to get to the other side, to Stillwater, you could go on the highway to 95 and still get to Stillwater, and it's actually not that far. So that's from this side, and same with it go on the other side. And so because we have so many people coming to the town for the university, that's why when I posted on my Facebook page that I thought that the short term seemed like a good idea because it would be the least disruptive. So
I'm aware of driving routes. And as I say, my concern is the end result in terms of the most effective end result, in terms of one that's going to structurally uphold both safety and indoor time. And also, of course, projects that aren't going to push labor over the edge either. In terms of, I can alter my driving route, I can have the extra 5 minutes of my commute driving around. Not thrilled about it, though happier to have good construction.
Thank you, everyone. All right, we are about to take a motion to move into executive session, which means that the public will no longer be allowed to be at our meeting. And Sophie has something to say before I take that.
Normally, before we go into executive session, we tell people whether or not we expect any formal action coming out. And I will tell you that there will be no formal action coming out because the whole purpose is for you to give me guidance.
So there will be no vote taken after the executive session. So I will take a motion to move us into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 4056E to discuss collective bargaining with IAFF Local 3106 and Maine Association of Police, Orono Unit. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Right, all those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.